Hello, crafty friends. It's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I'm here with a card featuring stamps from MFT and a simple stencil technique. This card was inspired by two challenges at MFT, or My Favorite Things, and one is a clean and simple birthday challenge, and the other is a sketch. So the sketch lent itself well to the clean and simple challenge because it was a pretty clean and simple sketch that called for a lot of white space. So I thought it would be a good idea to combine the two. And I'm using the Birdie Brown Otterly Adore You stamp set, and I'm coloring my otters with Copics. I did color the entire set, and I think even one of the otters is repeated because I wasn't sure which ones I wanted to use, and I knew I could use the rest on another card, or I could make a similar card with some of the other otters. So they're not all going to go on the card, but the one that I'm coloring is. I'm coloring with E18, 15, 13, and 11. For the most part, I'm trying to keep the darker shadows pretty minimal and leave a lot of the E11 so that it leaves a lot of highlight down the center. I felt like that made the otters pop a little bit more, having that small but deep shadow, as opposed to having a more even overall blend. I do tend to make my shadows a little bigger in other colorings, and it's something that I am always trying to work on, but it can be hard with little critters. However, these Birdie Brown otters do have a fair amount of space. They're a little bit bigger than some other critters that I tend to color. So I wanted to sort of take advantage of that and work on making a smaller shadow area and a larger highlight area. So with the E18, 15, and 13, I'm going to blend them out like just enough, just as much as using only as much marker color as I need to get them blended rather than create larger areas. So I use like just a line of the E18 and just a little bit thicker of the E15. The E13 I used a bit more just because it had to blend into the lightest color. But again, that was the general idea of keeping the shadows as small as possible and the highlight as big as possible. For the fish, I used E22 and 20, and I'm also going to use those colors when I color the heart on the other otter that will be featured on the card. So I only colored one otter for you on camera, but used the same techniques for all of them. I'm keeping it clean and simple, so I'm going to work directly on my card base. So I have an A2 size card base here, and the Simon Says Stamp Wave Stencil. This came out several years ago now, but it's one of those ones that I keep returning to. There's a lot of other great wave stencils out there. I'm going to protect the back of the card with a little bit of Frog Delicate tape here. And even though it's the delicate tape, it can rip your paper, so I know there's like probably better tapes out there. Post-it note tape is a little gentler as well, but this is a big roll that I bought many years ago, and so I still have it, and therefore I still use it. To create clean and simple look, but also to be inspired by the sketch has elements only on the right side, and so I'm only going to apply my ink on the right side, and I'm going to let it fade out. I do find that is hard to do with the Tim Holtz round blender tools. I like that really gentle fade out look, and I've seen people get a lot of great effects similar to that with these stencil brushes from Picket Studio. I kind of resisted because I've bought so many different like ways of applying ink over the years, different brushes like the Tim Holtz brushes or the Tim Holtz blender tools, etc. But Picket Studios was having an amazing sale on Black Friday, so I finally caved and bought myself some stencil brushes on an amazing sale. I have 8 stencil brushes now. So I'm taking Peacock Feathers Distress Oxide ink, and I'm applying most of the ink right on the right edge of the card there, and I'm just very gently brushing it out so that it has that fade out look towards the center of the card. And I was really impressed with how effortlessly I was able to get that sort of gentle fade out look. So I think I'm really going to enjoy these stencil brushes. And then I do want to give that enough time to dry, because if I start trying to tape things down right away before the Distress Oxide ink has dried, the ink is going to stick to the tape and not like it'll come off the card later. So I would also suggest, if you wanted to work a little faster, hitting it with a heat gun. So in order to finish up my card, I had already stamped this sentiment ahead of time and die cut it out. I like to work on little bits of cards at a time. So I like color a lot of images, and I have like a whole bowl of colored images on my desk. And with that in mind, I had the sentiment stamped out, but it didn't really suit the sketch. It needed to be smaller. So even though it was already cut with a banner die, I had to recut the banner edge, and then I'm going to cut the other banner edge off. Also, I'm going to pop up the sentiment and one of the otters with some layered cardstock. You could just use foam tape, but I just tend to use all my scraps of cardstock, double layer them, and use them in place of foam tape. Saves a little bit of money, gives me something to do with my scraps and my waste that might otherwise make it into the trash, recycling, etc. And I'm only going to pop up one otter and the sentiment just to add a little bit more interest. I also chose the otter with the heart so that it would create a visual triangle with the two fish down there at the bottom. And I will be turning the card around to trim off that little bit of extra banner that I don't need. And that's it for my card today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more crafting tutorials, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'll leave you links to the products mentioned in the video description below. If you happen to be watching this when it comes out on December 22nd, MFT is having a 25% off sale that you can take advantage of today and tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.